Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all here in this webinar session being conducted by TNV Academy. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Ajay Bajpai. In this webinar today, Mr. Ajay Bajpai will discuss about role of top management for success of ISO standards. Mr. Ajay Bajpai has audited several organizations for integrated management systems and various ISO management system standards and has helped several others for their implementation as well. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards respectively. Mr. Ajay Bajpai has an industrial experience of around 38 plus years in field of training and certification. He is one person who has implemented ISO standards in two organizations in the capacity of top management, being vice president and general manager of the company. He has also provided training and consultancy to various MNCs in his career. He has also conducted several first party, second party, and third party audits as a part of the management and as a team leader. He has himself been audited through witness audits from various accreditation boards successfully. Today, he is here with us to share his practical knowledge which he has acquired from being in top management in an active role. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and their certification and implementation. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you, Apur. I welcome you all for this webinar, which is on a very interesting subject of role of top management for the success of ISO standards. It is directly linked with clause 5 and clause 10 of various standards. As you know that most of the standards today are falling in line with the clause 1 to 10 requirements. See, I have asked into the message yesterday from number of participants, what do they understand of top management? And I do not know if they have questions or not. I will be able to hear those questions at the end of the webinar if they have any. Even if they don't have any questions, I will clarify many things today, which are directly getting linked into the quality management principles. See, many of you may be knowing that ISO standards had been developed on the basis of management principles, and to say quality management principle because the base of all standards has started at ISO 9001 way back from 1987, and thereafter several standards have been developed and most of them have been revised to 2015 version. If they are not revised, they will be soon revised to the new versions with the clause 1 to 10 requirements. Also, it has a base of PDCA. We'll discuss it slightly later. But if any top management who wants to successfully implement ISO standards into his organization, who will be our prospective clients of a certification body, and who will be a training organization for us as a training organization. See, the basic principles remains the same. Documentation, training, implementation, first party, second party, third party audit. Once the base has been created from management principles, let us understand how top management is linked to the implementation with respect to various management principles. Also, we will try and link these management principles with various clauses of ISO 9001 standard. The first one in line is customer focus. I have been telling in last number of webinars in last 3 decades that customer is not only the customer who has placed order on you to supply diesel generator sets of 50 kVA in next 3 months. He includes internal customer, external customer, final customers, and all those who are coming into supply chain category. Okay. Once our understanding of that is clear, then documentation of this clause and involvement and role of top management to be clear in concept and drive the organization to achieve ISO certification with the theme of value addition will be achieved. Next principle is leadership. Who is a leader? After the revision of the standard, when this risk factor has come into the picture. Leadership has been introduced in 2015 version of ISO 9001 and many other standards. When we go for audit and into training, when trainers and consultants are implementing the system, they explain to the team that everybody should be a leader into the company. Then the company will have a much better success rate. Passing the buck is not the job of the leader. Leader should be leading from where? From the front. The first indication of a leader is he is driving the team and organization from the front. He is not trying to push. Push and pull is another technique, but when we are talk of standards, a leader is one who is guiding the department, guiding the team, and first of all, he understands the concepts of leadership. So when we go into for training as a trainer into some organization, we means our team of consultants and associates who go and do the trainings, they make concepts very clear. Mister, you are a leader. You be clear and implement the system with the leadership quality inculcated in you and in the organization culture. Don't try to pass the buck. Try to solve the problems. Bring the solutions. Who will bring solution to the top management? I asked a question yesterday into my voice recording. A leader is the one who will be moving towards a problem solving techniques. He will indicate the top management that yes, I am also a part of the top management team, but the top management who is going to take a particular decision on a particular subject needs to be given right input, correct input, so that that leadership decision maker is able to take the correct decision. Third principle is engagement of people. How do we engage the team of the organization? We have to see that yes, they are given the right kind of a job, their competence is identified, they are made more and more competent by providing the inputs as necessary as per the changing technology and as per the changing requirements of the standard when it is applicable to a training or certification organization. Engagement means we have to take care of the overall situation, not only one part or two part or three part. There are clause 1 to 10 where employee needs to be engaged. 17021, 19011, which are the Bibles for accreditation and auditors and trainers. They all have defined this clause into various ways, into various clauses. So that engagement as per auditor, as per trainer, as per documented person, as per our far staying associate in Turkey, he needs to understand what is the definition of engagement of people with respect to ISO standards. He did not have to see the organization from a distance. Before he starts documenting the system of a company as a consultant, we always raise issues into third-party audit when we find the gaps. Company is performing in particular way. Documentation is not defining the same thing. So then we raise a non-conformity maybe depending upon what is the nature of the status when we audit it. And then company naturally needs to talk to the consultant. Yes, sir, you have documented our system, but there's a gap, big gap. So our suggestion in training sessions to such trainers is always that first do a gap analysis, understand where the company is staying today. Staying today means what? What is their level of documentation, understanding, culture, behavior, etc. with respect to ISO certification. In particular to the thoughts and things of the top management. Once they are able to understand, then documentation is done in most practical way. Then come process approach. Every activity is a process. That concept has been added into ISO standards 2 decades back. And now it is more and more amalgamated, more and more gelled, more and more diffused with the various clauses that every process has got a input, every process has got a processing, and then there is a output which is going to customer. And this customer is again giving input to our processing activity. So process approach concept, if it is clear to the top management, if it is supervisor also, he is also top management when he is having a team of 5 workers. So he has to lead his team by following the concept of process approach. If a job order has come to him for manufacturing of particular range of laptops, what will he do? He will take to process approach. He will go to the order of raw material. Then raw materials are inspected. Uh, then either they are rejected, rework or accepted. They go to stores. Then it is issued to assembly department. assembly department of laptops is doing the assembly, PCBs, this, that, all those components are assembled, and final laptop is assembled, inspected, and finally reaches the customer. So this whole cycle is a process approach. We are into this training. So this training is a following the principles of process approach. That is how we are able to conduct it. So this should be clear to the all management team members. Then next principle is improvement. ISO certification theme is based upon improvement, value addition in every facets of the organization's working, including interested parties improvement. That includes stakeholder, employee, customer, statutory regulatory boards, everybody. So improvement theme should be understood by the top management, even if he's a single worker. We have been asked some questions sometime. How do we prepare an organization and how do we certify a company who has got only one person running the show? One person running the show can also bring improvement. How? I've explained it a number of times. Again, taking 1 minute. When in the morning he talks to the customer, he collects the order. Before the first half, he's doing the production, so he's a production man. After lunch, he is doing inspection, so he becomes a inspection person. At the end of the day, he is packing, and at the last part of the day, he is making invoice and dispatching it to the customer. Next day, he takes the feedback. So he is single man can bring about a lot of improvement. We got at various time interval, he is doing various different functions. Everyone does it as a top management. We all doing different function at different point of time. I had a discussion with before the start of the meeting with 4 or 5 of you. I will have with 10 of you after the meeting is over. So improvement can be brought about into all this discussion if our concepts are clear. Then evidence-based decision making. This is one of the key points with respect to the decisions and role of the top management. We have been discussing earlier also when we reach to class 10 that decisions should be based upon facts and figures. Take the evidence, collect the data, then take a decision. Have a discussion between your team. Collect the information what is happening into government department with respect to the statutory and regulatory requirement with respect to APEDA, who is engaged into the exports activity of very critical food items today. It was they have conducted a seminar yesterday. So that is the fact, that is the evidence. Based upon that, the organization will move upon and we will take a decision as an organization if we are going for training to them, if we are going to audit them, what will be verified as the latest evidence which we have to verify for FSMS certification ISO 22000. So that is the linking of evidence-based decision making. And when we go to the top management, again I will say, who is the decision maker for a particular marketing situation for his supply to maybe to UK or Australia of some specialized spices maybe, which is a typical requirement into Australian market. So that decision making facts should be taken to the top management so they can decide which type of pickle and spices to be selected, which will give a brand value to their company and which will give also good profit saving for the organization. So the lower management or middle management, they should go to the top management with facts and figures, and then management also should understand the concept and their decision should be based upon evidence and facts and figures, not by somebody's thoughts and his views, which are not based upon facts and figures. Relationship management. Again, one of the key points of the implementation, documentation, and auditing and training sessions for what kind of relationship is required to develop our organization. How we will document the best system into our company. Best system means which will bring improvement to the company as per their desired goals, as per their measurable quality objectives, as per their well thought of vision, mission, and IMS policy implemented if it is a case of multiple standards being implemented. So relationship management is very important. Some work can be done with a good relation by good discussion. The same can be done by not scolding or fighting against with that person, which is happening every day into various countries, and wars are going on because relationships have not been improved upon. That's not the subject, but relationship maintenance is very important for the implementation of effective management system, and role of top management very important because they are the ones who are defining and explaining the relationship into the organization. When a new employee joins, the top management or maybe the middle management, who will be behaving as a top management for that particular new employee, and he will be explaining him the work instruction procedures of the company. They will be guiding him how the relationship needs to be maintained with respect to which function into the organization, which way to go, which way not to go, which employee is a tough employee, so deal with him carefully. All this needs to be explained to him by top management team. So these are the management principle which needs to be understood by a top management, whatever his role and condition may be there, and an idea and thought to learn always should be there. When I conduct these webinars, I learn a lot from the questions. I learn a lot from the situation. So I always keep on repeating these quality management principles into various discussions because there's a lot of learning behind every principle for me and for all top management existing wherever in the globe. So let's go to the next slide. Key elements. As I said earlier, I touched upon PDCA, plan, do, check and act few minutes back. That is again the key for standing of the ISO 9000 standards globally. Lot of schemes are coming upon based upon PDCA, plan, do, check and act, developed by Stephen Deming. Mr. Deming was a scientist who had developed this, and he still, the circle still states that development should be done not hurriedly. Plan should not be done without understanding the theme of the quality objectives or IMS objectives. Make practical objectives, smart objectives, so that PDCA principles can be implemented. You cannot change the facet of an organization. You cannot implement management system into any organization just like that. You need to make a plan. So planning of training, planning of documentation, then doing implementation and following of the standard and system with respect to what is the thought of the top management. So top management needs to put their thought into P, then see how doing is being done, mean implementation is being done, then check, as I was discussing with Apur. As a top management member function, your job is not only, don't take it otherwise, Apur, I'm just giving an example by your name, but Ajay Vajpayee who was supposed to check something, but he has not checked. So the performance of the training will not be good if Ajay Vajpayee is not checking that, if Rishabh is not verifying that the trademark has been started into implementation or not, the rules of logo has been implemented or not. So this checking is a very critical part of the entire activity. It also takes the internal auditing, the clause 10 into again the process, clause 9 again into the amalgamation cycle, and then act means take action. If you find a fault, if you find a problem, if non-conformity is there into product, process, and system, the top management needs to see that yes, they take actions. Okay, planning, doing, checking is very good, but if you don't take further actions, if you don't do a tracking, all efforts will not lead to the desired direction, and improvement will not be seen in the way which we have planned, because management has certain plans. Those plans will not be achieved. Other places, other clauses where top management role is again very much expected, and if they are not involved, the definition documentation is not effective into the organization. That is context of the organization. That is the beginning of the effective implementation of ISO standard, the clause 4. So top management involvement is required. Interested parties. Concept of interested parties I have discussed on the second minute of the discussion in first slide. Interested parties means what? Who all are having interest into effective and good functioning of the organization. Good functioning means we are getting the desired results, which may be shown by way of various kinds of audits. Then IMS policy. I say IMS policy because many organizations today are going for integrated management system. IMS objectives. We come across many organizations with multiple standards today. So whenever I give a training and discussion, most of the time concepts comes for IMS kind of an activity. Then roles and responsibilities and authority. This is where we find a lot of issues into the organization when we go for third party audits. Responsibilities are defined to n amount. Authorities are given to what? N minus 10%. So how a person will perform his job? A purchase manager is having a responsibility to purchase some urgent material in next 24 hours. But purchase order of how much? $200 maybe for a particular pen drive in US may be required to be approved by the top management who is not available for next 36 hours. So what he will do? System will fail. He as an auditor will raise a non-conformity. So there is a lot of mismatch which we see into this particular clause because they are not defined with that kind of a clear involvement of the top management. Some good consultant have visited the company and without doing an in-depth good analysis of the existing system of roles, responsibility and authority existing into a company with respect to clause 5, he has written down something which has been implemented by company and it is mismatch. So we need to understand the this concept. This particular clause has been discussed for last 35 years within the sectors of trainers and organization, and with discussions we reach to good conclusion. That's what I believe. Process approach, we have discussed it earlier also. I am covering it again because the top management needs to put his mind, his heart into the definition of the process approaches and following the PDCA cycle and management principles. Then the themes of all the standards are now boiling down to risk and opportunity. There are risks, so there are opportunities. This concept should be clear to the top management, and accordingly they need to give input to themselves, to the team, and spread within the organization. The risks are there, don't worry. Identify this, develop a mitigation plan, means try to reduce it. Opportunities will come automatically. But if top management is not involved, they have not understood the concept, they have not supported the team when they came for documentation, they are not supporting the internal auditors, this may not happen. And finally, improvement. Improvement is the theme which we have discussed. If top management at all level can understand and work towards that, very well. Then we go back to the next slide. I went back. They also need to support, the top management need to support infrastructural activity required for the implementation of ISO management system and standard. If some machines are required, some laptops are required, some password controls are required for ISMS, some keywords are required, some cryptography training is required. If that is not organized by what involving what? MIS, Management Information System. So this is something which I am going to use for next 25 minutes. The word MIS, Management Information System requirement. Management always needs inputs for development of infrastructure. If intelligent input is not given, what is the fault of top management? This is what comes out into many internal, external audits. The employee will say sometimes, sir, I have referred it to top management while I was closing the non-conformity into clause 4.2.3. But I am sorry, I have not been supported. In fact, he should be sorry because he has not given the desired data to the management. He has not done the root cause analysis. This is what actually comes out into many of the audits. Vice versa, the top management might not have understood the request coming from an employee for a particular purchase activity to develop and implement his ISMS into the company. So that needs to be clearly understood. Competence. Competence needs to be understood by the top management, the correct competence level, and then enhance the competence level by providing the inputs and training to the organizational team and for themselves also. All top management, whether they are managers, GMs, vice president, directors, they all need training. That is what is the expectation of the accreditation board where they come to audit a training organization or a certification body. And when we have the expectation when we go to organization for audit. Communication. Establishing the correct communication channel is the responsibility of top management, not bypassing the system, not undercutting the communication, not unnecessary avoid. Correct communication channel is the guidance where the top management needs to be involved to a greater extent. Then emergency preparedness and response. This is a particular requirement of few standard, not all. But I am trying to make a statement on this because in many organizations we have seen the top management is not involved to that extent mock drills are conducted, make mock drills are conducted, mock drills are conducted, but effectiveness is not being verified. We raise a non-conformity, our board raise a non-conformity, trainers raise a non-conformity, because this is something where top management needs to focus and improvement needs to be brought about. Internal audit. Many organizations, particularly I have discussed it when we go for surveillance audit or recertification audit, we find internal audits have become weak because top management focus has diverted from the system implementation and documentation, because they are very happy claiming the certification and getting good business, but they also have a responsibility to see that they can maintain the system by way of getting involved into internal auditing. I, as a vice president, have conducted a lot of internal audit myself into automotive manufacturing company. In fact, the the companies who are enlightened, brightened, and they are giving training to their organization into implementation, they are involved and they conduct audit themselves. A proper systematic audit using effective checklist. So the involvement shows and improvements are automatic. Same is true for management review. When we go for second or third surveillance at times or recertifications, the management review sometimes is shown to us as a weak piece of a paper which we don't encourage. We raise issues, we discuss with them, and we say, my dear sir, it is not necessary that by conducting this audit of 2 days of recertification, you may not necessarily be granted a certificate because your management review meeting is not effective. It does not show any tracking, it does not show involvement, it does not show what is required from a good MIS management information system requirement, and hence improvements are weak. So these are something which is a part of further activity. Desired results. When we are doing all this, what is the desired results? Top management involved, management plans are made, schedules are made, and MIS, which is management information system. There can be 10 other technologies and words can be used for this thing. The aim is to understand what is the requirement. Management want information, so I said management information system. A good intelligent information system, documented, implemented, brings about improvement into the company. Top management is done with good trainings. They are trained as a key element into the clause 5 and clause 6 when the training awareness is competence is being documented. All clauses are interrelated, we understand that. So we involve top management as and when required into various clauses of the standard, but focus is on clause 5 and clause 10. Internal audit summary and importance is understood. Internal audits are done, summary is made, but if they don't understand the importance of top management, the good results will not come, because root cause analysis has been done, plan has been done, but implementation is not effective, the tracking is not effective. Same way, management review meeting, they need to be involved. And if management review meeting is become effective, yes, desired result is achieved. Repeating of activities minimized and controlled. How? There are management, top management, middle management, which we have seen. They will keep on forwarding the email, sending the mail again. There are persons who ask me again also into various organizations, sir, training question it will be how many hours? I said, I have told you 3 days back, 6 hours. So why do you ask me again? Please look into your document. Somebody else will repeat the same mail, pass on the same mail into organization. He will say, sir, process capability has been reduced. It had already been communicated 3 days back. So it is your job now as a top management, a aware top management to implement it, not repeat it again and save time. External audits are simplified and effective. When external auditors are visiting the company, since the effective training of top management is done, they are on the same wavelength. The question and answers will not have gaps. Few organizations who have been put under follow-up audits or major non-conformities have been raised. I can share with you that they have not understood our questions. We were asking X, they were replying Y. When we were going to Z, they were coming back to A. So we were surprised and shocked. I mean, what is the preparedness level? So we had to raise major non-conformities, and I have myself given number of follow-up audits in last 35 years, and many type auditors, serious and experienced auditors, and even good companies have accepted it good concept and good faith, because they also wanted improvements, not only the certificate. So External audits are simplified and they are effective because the top management concepts are clear. We are on same wavelength. We are traveling in the same boat. We are on the same flight. Okay. Overall cost of IMS and again getting linked to MIS, IMS reporting and certification is reduced because concepts are clear. Things are moving in a positive direction. We all have understood the concept and all are aiming for the same thing. Follow the management principles, follow PDCA, bring improvements and improvements. So going further, planning of top management roles and implementation. I keep on using the short form. TM means top management roles. Okay. So these roles and responsibilities once are defined, needs to be explained, trained, and mixed with various kinds of software, etc., which are already available into the organization. A good mix of all the documentation and displays. How? Display is very, very important. Again, display methods depend upon the organization culture, behavior, and what they want to follow. Some top management would like to display a lot of things. Some top management will say only the part of discussion should be displayed. Only the part of the sharing should be done because of various regions. They have got marketing, they have got the confidentiality involved into it. The client confidential information is required to be maintained as per 17021 clause requirements. Rishabh understands that very well. Ajit is also trying to learn that in a way. I am very happy. Communication within the organization and all interested parties are required. Why required? Because once the concepts are clear, we can implement a good and effective roles. Many organizations will display on websites that these are roles and responsibilities of our key team, key marketing team, key CRM team, PISM team, key IMS team, so that nobody is wasting time and they reach to the right person in time. Method of handling appeals and complaints are displayed on their website, so they know what to do as a successful organization. So communication throughout by way of display, training, documentation within the chairmans. When I say chairman, they are deputy chairman, they are vice chairman, they are the chairman, they are director, they are deputy director, they are assistant director, they are executive directors. But the concept is top management. They are also managers when they do their role play. They are also doing typing of the email. They are also making tea for themselves sometimes. So role play is important. They need to understand the role and then implement it accordingly. Again, the top management action plan and review of management information system. Whatever has been documented is now being implemented. So checking is always going on. So the review is the keyword. Review of all function, checking of all the function, checking of all the activity, checking of the IMS objective, checking of through effective MIS audits, management information system audit is all very, very functionable when you can really implement it with a practical viewpoint, not only keep into the documentation. Report on MIS knowledge analysis, management information system knowledge has been shared with the team 6 months back. So what is the status today? Are they going with the same theme and same plan into the company? Are they following the concept of risk and opportunity? Are their report and MIS system reaching to the top management the way it is required? So that all needs a review. Then keep on updating the policy objective, MIS chart report, and reap the benefits of this clause implementation. Further go on, we are running the formats, we are running the reports, but aim should be always to see that we are making it more and more effective. They know clear-cut definition of the documentation when a company have started implementation because they were new to systems, they were just being trained, their team has just attended awareness trainings and courses, but now the MIS is functioning into the company. They follow the planning chart. They need to do correct, precise, accurate calculations, not go by just some percentage, some feeling, some report, some quotation. No, facts and figures, review it, MIS team and reports, and then go on to get real benefits by way of implementation. Now it has been implemented. So, what is the expectation? All these policies of objectives, opportunity chart needs to be discussed into various teams. We as trainers and auditors always believe in having cross-functional teams. Involve the team when you are going to take a decision. A single person, single mind has got limitations. I may have an experience of 38 years. I have audited and certified thousands of companies globally. But if I can utilize the expertise of my team members, my quality manager, my training manager, my marketing head, I can get lot of inputs and then a decision making by me and maybe the chairman of the organization, the MD of the organization for the particular function will bring good and effective results because everyone has got a definite exercise. When we go into the organization, there are some new auditors who will raise issues against the employees. We say, no, don't do it. Raise issues against the system. Raise issue against the MIS policy and objectives, not raise it against Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Sharma, Mr. Verma, because they are part of the process and system. If there is a weakness, if there is non-conformity, most of the times our experience of many decades says it is the issue of the system, not of individual. Some individuals may have not been able to follow it sometimes, but then again I will say their competence has not been checked initially and maybe their competence is not being checked on a regular interval. So he has done a mistake for a particular type of operation, particular activity. So involve the team and then take a decision. So to that extent, this COVID has become a boon to many organizations where we have gone for audits and trainings. They have been able to involve these teams by way of utilizing various softwares, teams, and webinars. Then understand the concepts of SPC, SQC, problem solving technique. If concepts of problem solving are not clear into the organization, then they will not be able to solve the problems effectively. So the concept of top management also should be clear. Yes, problems can be solved. There is nothing like a word like impossible in most of the situations. That's what I have seen in the last 40 years. Most of the companies and our young generation is so active today. They have demonstrated nothing is impossible. Impossible is nothing. And our honorable Prime Minister and the globe is also moving towards the same direction. Things which we thought will never happen in the globe and particularly in Asian countries are happening today because they have understood the concept of problem solving. They know yes, problems are there. They will be there. If you solve 10 problems, 11th and 12th will come. But we have a team. We will solve it. We'll make a plan. We'll go to root cause analysis, establish the system, and we will solve. And we will conduct a good and effective audit of MIS system, management information system auditing. The top management should understand. They should be trained. That was one of the desired results that they know how to conduct the audit of MIS system and then how to get audited themselves. Don't run away from the audits. We give into lead auditor training courses inputs to the under training auditors that it is difficult to audit top management functions. It is the job of most of the times the team leader or lead auditor who has enough and adequate experience of handling the top management and MIS system audits because it is a critical situation. They have to be lot of diplomatic situation into top management audit. But yes, if we can do it, if we can track it, we can make it more effective. The game is won, as we have won day before yesterday into the cricket match. So everything is like a match and a game. If we can train the team well, if we can keep on monitoring them, if there's good board to control it, yes, effectiveness is always enhanced. Again, this review is very critical to the implementation facets into the organization. MCs are there, they will be there, but it should be seen that similar type of MCs are not repeating into the top management function. If they are there, then maybe top management needs to sit down, have a review meeting and see why they are repeating, what are the trends, and how we can have an effective management review meeting conduct covering the area of MIS, management information system, inputs of management, output of the management, and then they make effective implementation and monitoring the further action. That is the key to success. If we do not monitor the implementation, we will miss. If I and Rishabh do not track the logo application, do not track the trademark application, One day there will be a non-conformity internal audit and external audit. So Rishabh and team, be careful. That tracking is very, very important. Don't miss, don't forget what we have decided. Then improvements will be automatic. Once we follow these principles, starting from here to the end point, the 7 management principles, PDCA, all these various clauses, which are not treated to be like clauses when we get into implementation. Look it from a practical point of view of the organization. Do not give theoretical NCs into organization. Do not raise theoretical issues. Understand the concept. I always tell my team of auditors, whether we are into online audit or offline audits, I always develop a plan. I always divide the responsibility and focus onto the practical situations of the organization, because auditing, if it becomes theoretical, it is only documentation, then the organization lose interest and they become inactive into surveillance and recertification. So then we check all these, we follow these principles, we achieve desired results, we focus on this critical area by involving the top management. Top management, one person is also top management, manager is also a top management when he is taking a decision of a particular function. Today is the day of the Hanumanji Bajrangbali. I will explain you the small example. Management, top management, whatever level he is, he should be able to take a decision. If our great Hanumanji had to stop at the bank of the sea and he had to go back to Lord Sri Ram, ask, should I jump or not? Then Sitaji should have never come back to Sri Ram. So a leader, a top management part should be able to take a decision. He can always consult the top management as required. When, for example, when Meghnad was going to attack Sri Hanumanji by his Brahmastra, I am sure Sri Hanumanji must have taken internal permission from Sri Brahmaji and accepted that Brahmastra. So keep on discussing with the top management. But yes, as a top management, learn to take decisions. Don't keep the things pending. Pending decisions are very, very risky. Decision taken may not be risky, but whatever experience a third party trainer or auditor said, it is the pending decisions which are very, very risky for the organization. So all this we have discussed, and now once we are ready with all this, where the teams will go? The teams will go after implementation for the certification, third party certifications. So these are the links for various ISO certifications for various standards. Our websites are very, very detailed. They are having very much knowledge into it. They have got various standards, checklists, guidelines available. So please study them and learn and achieve the certification by applying to certification bodies and achieve ISO certification, and keep on improving your management system by effective implementation and involvement of top management functions. So that's what I had to discuss. If you have any questions, the team and Apur, if you had thought in last 14 hours precisely when I sent the last message, you can ask some questions. Yes, Suryakant, you said you will ask some question at the end of the webinar. So you are welcome for questions.
Yes, sir. Sir, how evaluate the top management?
Evaluate for what?
What,
See,
work
I
responsibilities
am
as
not
a
against any person when he is asking a question, but I am always want a clear question to come. If you ask a question, your question should be clear to me. Evaluate for what? That is the key.
रोज responsibility, sir. उसकी responsibilities
Good.
के लिए क्या
So now your
responsible है?
question is responsibility के खिलाफ कैसे उनको audit करेंगे? So that
Yes,
is
sir.
the question now. So question should be clear. That is what I always say to third party auditing and training. If question is clear, you will get a good reply. So if you are asked to audit the top management for the responsibility, first of all, you should know what is the documentation of responsibility, what all they are responsible for. Once you have their manual or whatever document where he or she had defined his or her responsibility, please understand that before you are going to ask a question. And then ask a question if he is a purchase manager, and if they have documented his authority to approve a purchase order of up to $1 million in a multinational company who turnover is 1,000 billions, then ask him a question. Have you approved any purchase order which are of $1 billion. That will be the question. And evaluation of his responsibility will be done very, very clearly. Right, Surikant?
Yes, sir.
Another example I can give you, if top management of ISMS organization was supposed to provide a training, effective training of what? SOA, revision, whatever may be possible into the organization, then he is supposed to implement that version. So your question will be, sir, have you implemented the latest version into the organization, which was one of your responsibility, which you have documented and defined on 1st May 2022 in your document DC0102? And you can verify that. Another question, please.
If anyone else has any questions, they can please ask.
Everyone is a top management, so they don't ask the question to themselves.
I would say that if you have any questions later on, so this particular video will be posted on our YouTube channel known as TNV Academy, and you can post your questions in the comment section of the video, and we will be passing those questions to Mr. Ajay Bajpai, and he will be really happy answering them. We can now come to the conclusion of this particular session. I would say that I'm glad that we have been benefited by the knowledge shared by Mr. Ajay Bajpai on such a vast and complex terminology, which is also a critical element in the implementation of any management system standard. I can also say with much confidence that our participants must have enjoyed the context of today's webinar, and it will definitely add value to their expertise and domain of work. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, on behalf of TNV Academy, for giving your valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for today. I also thank all the participants for taking out time from their schedule and joining us in this webinar. I hope to see you all again soon. Wish you all a very best of luck on behalf of TNV Academy for all your future endeavors. Thank you so much.